Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, guys, let's start the meeting. It's 12:01. So is everybody ready to roll on this?
Do it.
I'm gonna turn my video off because I'm eating, but
Okay.
I'll be
There
here.
you go.
Same
Okay.
here.
Well, we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call. Let's see. Fred Dickey, Mayra Hernandez,
Present.
Cesar Garay, John Villarreal, present. Arturo Dominguez,
Present.
Alma Acevedo,
Present.
Rafael Dueñas. I saw Rafael.
Yeah, he's there.
Okay, good. Julian Ratnowski,
Present.
Joe Maldonado.
Estoy aquí queriéndote. I forget the rest of the lines.
Great. Well, we have a quorum then, so we'll proceed. There's no citizens' comments. Approvals of the minutes. Let's see, well, here. Minutes. Y'all have the minutes there before you. Y'all want to have a chance? Did y'all have a chance to review them?
I reviewed when they were emailed and motioned to approve the minutes.
Okay, that's Mayra. That's Alma. Is that you, Alma?
Second, Arturo.
And second by Arturo. Any discussion? All those in favor by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is it's a update on the City of Laredo economic development activities and statistics by our economic development director, Teclo Garcia. Floor is yours, Teclo.
Okay. Can y'all hear me right now? Okay. Oh, I think Cesar, Mr. Chairman, I think Cesar also just got on, if you didn't note that.
Yeah, no, we have him. The only one is Fred Dickey.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share a screen. First of all, thank you everyone for joining the meeting. I really appreciate y'all doing that. I know everyone's time is tight, and so I'm going to go through some stuff pretty quick. If you need to ask something, please do. If it's something that's a little bit more detailed, please, I welcome your call or email later, and I'll try to do a better job of answering at that time. What I'd like to do is give the committee plenty of time for the last item on this agenda for y'all to discuss as a group. So if I go a little bit fast, I apologize, but I just want to get to that point where we've got plenty of time. Someone's like unwrapping like their sandwich or something right now. They're eating. So if y'all can mute y'all's mics, that'd be great. Okay, so I want to share some statistics that I put together here recently. And just to give you some context and some background, these are 8 key economic indicators from a 10-year period that we just finished, 2010 to 2019, right, to the end of 2019. I know it's almost the end of 2020, but some of these numbers don't come together so quickly, and we have to, wait on organizations like the Federal Bank or the U.S. Census, to put these together. Some come quickly, like unemployment rates, but some of these others don't. So that's why it wasn't until the end of October that we were able to get some of this information. So I just want to go with some of these, and I can send you these, or y'all can screenshot or whatever the case is, this information and use however you want. And so let's go through them very quickly. Our labor in 2010, our labor force, meaning how many folks were working at that time, was 105,000. Pardon me, that was our labor force, right? People working was 96,000. So our unemployment was 8,600. So That's what our labor force looked like here in the metro area, which is basically Webb County. We had 105 people that were of working age, which is 16 and above. Our employment was 96,000, and then our unemployment rate was actually 8.2%, which was for back then wasn't that high, but it was a little high still. Our median household income was 34,900. Our gross domestic product, meaning what the measurement of goods that Laredo produces, not just for exportation but for use inside of Laredo, but all the things we produce was $7.7 billion. Our total trade, meaning international trade that we were going back and forth across the border, was $125 billion. Our population was 250,000. Now, if you go down to 2019, 10 years later, at the end of 2019, our labor force, meaning all the people here of working age, was 118,000 people. Employment was, how many people were working, was 114,247. And our unemployment was 4,379, which gives us an unemployment rate of 3.7% for 2019. So you can see already that there was a big difference from 2010. Our median household income here in Laredo is 56,084. Now that's a significant jump from 2010, and especially the last 2 years. Even last year, our median household income in Laredo jumped 17%, and I think it jumped like 8% the year before. So we're beginning to earn a lot more money in Laredo. Now we're still not at the state average, but we're a lot closer. I think the state average is like 61 or something like that. We used to be about $14,000 below the state average. Now we're more like 4,000, 5,000 below the state average. So we're doing much better, but we could be doing even better than that. Our gross domestic product, the goods we produce here, went up quite a bit, 11.7 billion. Our total trade was 232 billion, and then our population was 276,000 in the metro area in 2019. So then if I slide down to the 10-year assessment on those 8 categories, let's look at labor force real quick. Okay, just natural growth, population, and people coming of age. We improved our labor force by 13,000 people at 13%. Unemployment or employment growth, meaning people working, or job creation, right? We created almost 18,000 new jobs in that 10-year period, or we were up 18.5% on employment. Unemployment, we were down 4,100 people that were unemployed. So at the end of 2019, our unemployment rate fell 4.5%. all the way down to 3.7%. So we did really well there. So more people working, more people earning money, which goes to the next category, median household income. Now this median, as y'all know, some of you math majors, I am not, but I know that median is different from average, and it's a truer a way to understand what a real number is. And so that's why the Fed Bank and the census use median household incomes. Either way you slice it, Laredo improved 60% on median household income during that 10-year period. Our gross domestic product improved 52%, or about $4 billion. Our total international trade through our bridges was up 85%. As y'all can see, the raw numbers up earlier, 125 to 232. And then our population increased just 10%, which is very fast, but there's suburbs around Dallas and Houston and Austin and San Antonio that are growing a lot faster than that. But that's okay because our unemployment went down, right? Our household income went up. And if your population starts outstripping your job creation, you've got trouble. So we've been able to catch up some here, and at least before COVID started. So I wanted to share with you these numbers that I think will give us sort of not a down in the weeds kind of look, but maybe a 30,000 foot view on our economy and how we've been able to improve over the last decade, not counting the year 2020, right? Our unemployment is lower, our median household incomes are higher, our production is higher, total trade is much higher. So all those things are good. I mean, I didn't go into education and which is also an economic development factor, but our education numbers are up as well. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. Use them if you like. Don't use them. It's up to you. But for the short term right here, I can try to answer questions if y'all have any, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question.
Yes.
Teclo, so we see that the incomes are rising, but do we know which industries are contributing the most to that? Is it private? Is it public? What sectors are contributing? And then further, what specific jobs are really leading?
Yeah, I only have a partial answer for you on that, Julian, and it's only because I haven't done that much more research to drill down that many levels. But I can tell you, and maybe you and I discussed this, I can't remember. I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but we know that government jobs in Laredo, not including schools, although they pay pretty well too, but government jobs, the way they're categorized by the Texas Workforce Commission, are non-education government jobs. And so that includes city, county, federal, and state employees. And that paycheck is pretty good, right? So that group forms about 24%, I think, of Laredo's paycheck, if you will. Pardon me. That's how many folks they employ. Like 25% of our employment is in that government sector, but the paycheck that they produce is upwards of 33% of the entire paycheck pie for Laredo. So that area pays very well. And you can imagine federal employees, police officers, firemen, sheriff's deputies, that they get paid fairly well. The other sector that pays well is professional services, that are in Laredo, and then medical. But those jobs are not they aren't as plentiful as the government jobs. So I'd have to do more research to answer your question better, but we do know that much so far.
Question, Teclo. The median household income went up 60%. How much did the inflation go up? Just to get the real income, right? What people actually put in their pockets, because I don't know if inflation, say, grew 20%, I don't know what it grew over those.
Yeah, that's a really good point, John. And what we would have to do is not just look at inflation, but look at what the price index is in Laredo comparatively, because you bring up a good point. Our median household incomes went up, but what I don't know right now is what our average rent was, or how much property prices are, and that is going to take, like you said, away from what people are earning.
Anybody else? Very, very good numbers.
I know Alma has a question. She's got to have something for me.
I mean, trade is way up 85%. I mean, I thought we were like at 253 or something like that. 230.
In 2018, we were at our highest, and it was 234 billion. And then in 2019, we dropped 2 billion to 232. And this year, because of COVID, we might be in the 205, 210 range on trade.
And probably 50% of that is automotive.
Yes, that's the trend. About 50% of what we have are automotive related. The other big categories are electronics, computers, and then for exports, it's also automotive, but then gasoline. We ship billions of dollars of gasoline into Mexico.
Teclo, are we compiling this data, or is someone within the city compiling this and doing? I know it's easy to do it on a piece of paper and do possible breakdowns of which industries are growing and at what salary. But is this like public data that we provide on the city's website at all?
No, but we're going to post it on there when I make it probably look a little bit better, Julian.
Great.
But that's a really good suggestion, and that's what we're getting to. I'd like to add a couple of more categories, maybe, but yes, we're going to post it as soon as we get it complete here.
Great to hear. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does TAMU and Laredo College, do they have some of these? I mean, do they track? I'm pretty sure they do track these numbers. Also.
Yes. They I don't know about LC, but I know TAMU definitely does. And Dr. Schaffler, who you heard a couple months ago with us, or last month, the Texas with the Center for help me out here, Alma, the really long title that
It's border economic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of information on their website. And some of which I have here, although I didn't rely on it this time. But they also have really good crossing numbers, even for northbound traffic. It might be a little bit dated, like a year or two behind, but they do a lot of compiling of information of all sorts.
Can I ask a question?
Anybody else?
Yeah, can I ask a question? It's Joe.
Sure.
Teclo, with this information that we've got for the last 10 years, how can we as a committee, with this information supplemented with some of the stuff you talked about with the industries with Julian, how can we use this information to plan for the next 10 years to try and get, this is incredible growth, and I don't know that it's sustainable, but to continue it from, going in the wrong direction?
Well, that's a big question, Joy. I mean, knowledge is power, right? So if we could add more categories to this information, like, Julian suggested, and then post it, and then use it in meetings, use it for strategic planning, give it to other departments, say the next time we do a comp plan, which may be in the next 5 years or something, we need this kind of info, to find out which direction that we need to go in. That's that old joke. Why was the guy riding backwards on his horse? And he said, because I want to see where I have been. Right. I mean, that's the kind of thing that this information is for. So yeah, I mean, and you can go on forever. Compiling even. You can compile 100 categories here. The census will be out. The full census will be out next year, and that'll give us a really, really good micro level access to information. Like, how many small businesses do we have in Laredo? How many veteran-owned businesses? How many women-owned businesses are in town? What's the true poverty rate based on earnings and against inflation? So all that stuff will be out after, the census is a little bit delayed right now, so it may not be till May or June or July of next year, but we can really start developing something in earnest, once that comes around.
And I guess a little follow up to that. The reason I ask, right, is the median household income, and I think you referenced it, that it's different than the average. As I'm sure you know, what that does is just take all the data points and pick the one right in the middle. So I don't know, looking based on this, whether our lower income residents are also growing, or this is just sort of top heavy. So looking at this information, I don't know how generally everyone is doing, other than the number right in the middle is higher, So I don't know what the average is. I don't know, what the data actually is, other than looking at this. And so where we need to focus, we probably need just a little bit more information, is my thought.
Well, your average is going to be higher because it's skewed by those bigger numbers, right? And so I think the average income in Laredo is around 60,000 or maybe more. I think I remember the number, and that's because the folks that earn a really big paycheck, bring up a lot more of the lower numbers. So this gives you really a true sense in the middle, like you're saying, right? Now, once the census comes out, we'll be able to delve into and figure out, and we can go. And we've done this before, but the information's dated. We can use all like 26 or 32 census tracts in Laredo to figure out how people are doing in each census tract.
Very good. Any other questions, Arturo?
Yes, it would be nice to have the household income with government and non-government income. That would be a good benchmark. The other thing is going back to our trade and our bridges. World Trade Bridge is at 85% capacity, and Colombia is between 30 to 35. I think if we want to grow, we need to focus on what we have to finish there at the import lot. We have several things that have been delayed in construction, and I think we need more infrastructure as well. So somebody has to be looking at that, because if we want to grow, if we want to keep on growing, we need to look at that with a microscope or something, because right now they're talking about sending the empties to Colombia,
Yeah.
and that is not a very good idea, because it's going to get more expensive. It's going to take longer to get those empty trailers into our warehouses to export. And so, I mean, you can't tell trade how to move. Let them move how they have to move. They'll do the best job. And when you do that, you can hinder expenses. You can delay a lot of things. So I think we need to do what we have to do, and not dictate where things should go to. I think there's a lot of things that have to be done at the import lot, and outside the import lot. I think TxDOT also has to do their job as well, because that is a very important area to our city, and we have to take care of it. And then we have to look into the future, 5 to 10 years as well. There's got to be a committee to look at those things. I sent Albert Torres to put a standing committee in the city for trade, for consulting, for what's the best things that we need. Can we go to a higher toll fee, or can we do this, or can we do that? I mean, if you send those trucks to Colombia, the best thing is to don't charge a fee, no toll fee, and you can go to Colombia, but let the trucking decide. I mean, there's got to be an incentive for them to go to Colombia. Well, where they're not going to charge you toll fees in the bridges, that's where you can kind of give them an option. But if you tell them you have to go through there and you have to pay, same as Laredo, was, I mean, that's not a good option. That's my 2 cents.
No, good comments, Mr. Dominguez. I mean, that's I think you're right. Let me address. I can address the first part of your comments, or at least a little bit address them. Is when you were asking about dividing up the median household income, government and non-government. Let's keep in mind that that during COVID, we've had a lot of job losses, right? We at one point, I think we were down about 17,000 jobs from when we started in March or February to like mid-July, we had lost about 17,000 jobs. We're back a little bit. I think we've gained about half of that back now. But the vast majority of those job losses were in the lower paid industries, hospitality, restaurants, some construction, and then also on the lower end of medical offices, like, you know, medical assistants, billing, things of that nature. And so a lot of the folks that were earning very little money, those are the ones that lost their jobs first. A lot of people that kept their jobs and kept earning paychecks were considered essential, such as in the trade industry and government. So they kept getting paid during that time. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. But if no one has any more questions, we can, Mr. Chairman, we can try to move on to the next item. It's very quick.
Okay.
And then y'all can go
real
through the
quick,
discussion.
on the construction, they were essential also, and I know the new homes are up. I mean, that
Yes, sir.
market, all the construction. So
Yes.
very good. So we'll go on to the second item, which is a presentation on interest buy-down loan programs for small businesses that are being provided and offered by other cities.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. This is something that I just want to bring to the committee's attention, and I'd like to talk about it just very briefly, but then get some feedback from you guys over the next couple of months, because Arnold and I are just at the very beginning of exploring this idea, to try to, with the goal of offering small businesses access to a capital program on a more permanent basis here in Laredo. And that's something I know that y'all have talked about a lot. Y'all have brought that to my attention. And so the interest buy-down program is not something that's unique. Some other cities are doing this, not a lot, but some. And basically, it's what y'all think it is. The city would get involved with a partner like a Lyft Fund or People Fund or somebody like that, to help small businesses that are borrowing, you know, like $20,000 or less, or 25 grand or less. We can set that amount. And of course, they're going to be charging an interest rate, let's say 8% or 5%. And the city would pay for the interest on that loan, say for 5 years. The borrower would still have to repay that money, but we would take care of the interest rate and give that borrower a break and make it easier for them to borrow money to invest into their business and not have to worry about the interest payments on that money. Now, the reason this is appealing to us so far is that it may not require very much capital from the city, and right now the city doesn't have any money. Right? We don't have $1 million or $5 million to capitalize this program. We might have 30 grand or 60 grand, and then that would make it more appealing to us. We have not spoken to any other partners. We haven't really discussed this in length, although Arnold and I have had several discussions about getting this going. So I just wanted to throw this up to you to let you know that we're working on something, and when we come back with we'd like to come back with something more solid, maybe in 2 months or so you guys can look at it and then kind of start, making recommendations or suggestions to the program.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I just want to comment that that's great, that you guys are going to put it together in a way that you guys can present it to us in a couple of months. I think that's a perfect time for you guys to further develop it, and then we could start talking about it. Thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you. Arnold, did you have anything to add?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm excited about this. This is a new step forward as far as what economic development is trying to get done for the small businesses, and it fits right into what the goal of this committee is to see if this would be a good fit for us and see how we can move it to advise council that this is something we want to move forward with. So I'm on board. You know me.
One last little caveat, Mr. Chairman, on this kind of program is that we initially approached the economic Development Agency, the EDA, EDA, about funding this program through a grant, and they have been doing this for years. However, during this current administration, they stopped funding this type of program. So we have a hope that maybe under the incoming administration, that this program gets recapitalized. And then if that's the case, then we just don't only have to rely on the city. We can reapply, through EDA to try to get the program funded, and we would have more flexibility in the things that we would try to do.
Teclo, regarding, and I'm probably butchering what these are exactly called, but I think banks have community reinvestment credits. Does that tie into this at all, or can the private banks in Laredo join in on this or partially fund this for credits, or is there anything of that nature? Maybe John will be able to chime in on this.
Like we looked at another program. I forgot the actual program, Teclo, but it's just so cumbersome, and that was just so cumbersome that we just said, look, we're just not interested in something like that. I mean, there might be some other banks that might be. So yeah, it would be, to me, I think it would be difficult, but other banks might, like you said. I heard like Compass, which is now going to be PNC, they needed a lot of CRA.
They do need a lot of CRA. But great point, Julian. I think I know BBVA is always looking for credits. They run a program through Mile One right now, where they kind of develop these financial well-being seminars for small businesses and people who are not very high income earners, and they get credits from that. Because I used to do it in Mission for them. So I know that they do that. It's worthwhile for Arnold and I to maybe bring it up to a few banks to see if they'd be interested. Good point.
Thank you, Teclo.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I was actually talking to Stevie, who you have a meeting with later, about that he had worked with banks in the past to fund at least government-specific contracts. So that would be another resource when you guys meet up later. I was going to mention real quick with the EDA opportunity, if hopefully the city's able to continue its legislative trip in person this coming up March, would a deadline to have something put together, would that be too much stress for you and your team to have something ready to present at EDA in case that is going to be something with the new administration that we could take advantage of?
Good point, but I don't think we have to worry about the deadline so much, Alma, because this is a federal agency, and so the state legislative session wouldn't have much impact on it. So we always have to be cognizant of deadlines, but that one won't impact this particular program.
Well, I meant if we go to DC in March.
Oh.
The DC trip to take advantage and present it at EDA in person, if that trip does happen, it would be a good time to do that.
My bad. I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to this one. Arnold and I could check on that. Hopefully we can still go up there and things will be a little bit more settled down by the spring. But yeah, that'd be a great idea. Now they do give a lot of their regional offices a lot of autonomy. So their Austin office handles just about everything that DC would. But yeah, no, good idea.
Very good. Anything else so we can move on to the next agenda item? Anybody else have anything on number 4 on the interest buy down? Okay, we'll go on to number what is it here? It says number 6, which is it says discussion and possible action to approve the EDAC meeting dates for the 2021 calendar year. And you see those on your screen. Does anybody have any recommendations?
I reviewed them when they were emailed, and I motioned to approve the proposed dates that are in front of us on the screen.
There's a motion by Ms. Acevedo. Is there a second?
Second, Arturo.
Second, Arturo. Any discussion on it? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion only for election of the new EDAC chairman and vice chairman. And the elections will be held in the January 2021 EDAC meeting. I would think that would be our first item. We were going to have it this one. I know I got some comments by some of the committee members. I mean, there's two members right now that their council persons are in runoffs. And that'll be decided, I think, next Tuesday. So either way, it would be at the end of this meeting or it'll be the start of the next meeting. So any discussion on that? Does anybody have any comments?
I'm sorry, John, what do you mean either way would be at the end of this meeting? What did you mean?
In other words, either way, the chairman, it would be elected at the end of this meeting, right? We were going to elect it, it would be December.
Are we allowed to?
It will now be in January, so it'll be at the start of the meeting, so it won't affect, quote unquote, I mean, that person conducting the business, right? Other than that, I'll open up the meeting, and from there, after the minutes, we can have the election. And that chairman will take, and the vice chairman can take it from there. I don't know, Mr. Garcia, if you've had people, I think, how many of the members have expressed interest in the positions? We also could nominate members from the committee. If you all feel some of the members are, would be good chairman or vice chairman, please nominate them. Of course, they would have to accept that they would have to run. So any comments on that?
Let me just make one comment, is that no one has approached me about it, and I want to make it clear to the committee that this is something that if you do want to do it, or if you have, someone you think that you want to nominate from the committee, that you work with the chairman on this. It's really clear in the rules here at the city that in this case, I'm the liaison, and I deal with y'all on projects and other things, but when it comes to committee stuff, that's completely committee business.
Okay, I was misinformed, so y'all.
Is nominating an action? Though?
I'm sorry?
Is it nominating an action?
I mean, what do you mean by that, Alma?
If somebody on this call right now nominates somebody or nominates themselves to serve or to be running for the chairman position, is that not an action to nominate someone? Because this,
yeah, I mean, right now, it's
unfortunately, says discussion only. There's no
right. Well, I guess through an email. You can email me, say, look, I would like to be interested in this position, right?
So the vote is for the next meeting.
That's right.
So we will have nomination. So I'm just trying to understand what Alma said and what you just.
Yeah, do it by nomination and then election.
Okay, so the nomination isn't happening now. We will speak to John and present who we'd like to be nominated, and then at the next meeting, it's going to be presented as the vote. Did I understand that correctly?
We will have I would think that we would have the vote next meeting through a text, Teclo. Maybe say, look, these are the people that are on the quote unquote ballot for chairmanship and for vice chairmanship. So please, I mean, there's two things. One, do it publicly or do it privately.
I think it should be done publicly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John, that's the only advice I would have is I will double check the rules for you, Mr. Chairman. But I think the best thing is to do all of it in public at the meeting.
Okay. Sounds fair.
I have another question. When this was put on the agenda, and now being that we have 20 minutes as a discussion only item, whoever was able to put it on the agenda, I mean, what kind of discussion? Can somebody lead this discussion? I don't see what 20-minute discussion without action. I don't know if anybody had a particular vision when they put this on the agenda as a discussion only item. I know I had requested action because we did discuss this in November as well. So I would like to see somebody lead the discussion if possible.
Well, I know it was put by, I guess, Tecla, you put it in, but I mean, it's for discussion just to have all the rules and, have everything in place, the rules in place where, we don't have what we're discussing right now, right?
Correct. The only reason that we did the discussion only is because we had to post and we hadn't heard back from the entirety of the committee, and it would be unfair to put an item up without, especially one as important as this one, without getting some feedback from folks. And our deadline was earlier than normal, and so we had to post, as I mentioned to y'all in that email, or some of you in that email. So unfortunately, that item was not able to be vetted out properly. So the best thing that I could do was just tell Arnold to post it as a discussion item at least, and then at least what y'all can do in this particular meeting is set the ground rules for that next meeting and say, here's what the chairman's going to do is I'm just saying this per example. He's going to accept nominations, and then if there's nominations, then maybe the committee votes on who the nominees are, and then you pick the nominees, and then of course you would have to make a motion to accept that as the new chairman, and then the vice chair also needs to be selected from the group. So something like that. I don't want to, like I said, to set the table here because I'm not really supposed to be involved very much, but I at least want to talk about the rules.
I like what Declo said. I think so. If I understood him correctly and the way I'm perceiving it, the best thing to do is to let John know if you'd like to be considered for the position. And then I guess we will then decide at the next meeting. But I guess the question I have is it possible that you end up with 5 people saying they want to be part of the chair and we have to vote individually on each one? Is that what then is going to happen?
No, I would think it would be like, okay, these are the nominees for chairman. Well, I don't know. It's kind of any suggestions. So I mean, because that's why I wanted to, I guess, through like a text or something like that, because it.
I would just caution against doing any other business. Not in front of the camera or in public regarding any of our selections here, just for transparency reasons, to make sure that no one said, oh, well, y'all are selecting it and I didn't know anything about it. I could attend it. So let's do it all in public is what I'm suggesting. I think, John, you're right. I think, Julian, you're right. I think at the next meeting, there should be a call for the committee members to nominate a person or persons for the position of chairman, and then also for vice chair. And once you make the call and people make motions to make this person or that person a nominee, then the committee votes just like any other item that you have. You vote for that person, and then see who gets selected, and then you move on to the next one. That's how I kind of see it. I mean,
but who would go first? Like you say, person, committee member 1. Okay, who votes for chairman for committee member 1? So then you have a couple of hands. I don't know if it'd be fair to the committee member 3.
Yeah, I think whoever gets the most votes.
I see some hands. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Arthur.
Whoever gets the most votes gets the chair, and whoever gets the second amount of votes gets the vice chair. Yeah, it's like a done deal.
Okay. Joe, you have your hand. And Rafael, you also have your hand. Go ahead, Joe, and Rafael.
I'm going to let Rafael go first.
I was just simply going to reiterate Declo's recommendation, which I had actually put on the comment section, where my suggestion was obviously doing everything public on record, and everyone nominates whoever they want, whoever would like to make a nomination, and then based on the candidates who were nominated, we all come to a vote and we just vote on it. And make your own nomination for chair and make a nomination for vice chair if you have one.
Any comments? I see. Joe, go ahead.
Just because I think we're working on some procedure here, my comment would be that we set the procedure or discuss the procedure so everybody knows what's going to happen at the next meeting, right? So I think we can unofficially nominate people today to have a list. There can be additions to that list for that next meeting. And the first thing that should happen at the next meeting is the action item of approving the nominees for chair and vice chair. That motion should carry, I hope. And then we have a vote on the chairs and vice chairs. And that's what I think, again, because this is not an action item, it's a discussion item. Today we can discuss and decide who wants to be nominated or not. But I don't think we can actually nominate them officially until there's an action item, which is the beginning of next meeting. Once that carries, then we have the vote. And then we have a chair and vice chair. That's what I wanted to say that so that we're clear and I think everybody's on the same page. If anybody has any disagreements with that, I'm happy to discuss, but I think that's what the procedure is and what we should be doing.
Any other comments? Julian, I see you. You have a comment, Julian? Rafael?
No, my hands just flail around. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'll just add that whoever is nominated does have to accept the nomination. I mean, if not, then that's just another comment. You do have to accept the nomination because if you don't want the chair or the vice chair, but someone else nominates you to it, just to have that unclear.
Yeah. So any other comments? Because I was going to make a suggestion right now.
Yeah, I'll make a comment real quick. I hear what you're saying, Joey, and I think you're right. I think you're probably in the bounds of what you're allowed to do. Let's just be careful that we're not nominating someone because our agenda doesn't say that we're going to nominate and have an action item.
So let me be clear. Today we can suggest nominees without actually nominating them. Is that a better way to put it, Teclo? Since we're not nominating them? Lawyers.
My suggestion is just that we come to an agreement on the procedure of how this election is going to be handled, and we pick up on it and actually nominate and elect in January's meeting.
Well, you're definitely going to have to do that. I mean, that's for sure. And Julian mentioned that, several minutes ago, is that trying to give the chairman the ground rules that are going to take place. That's the main thing.
Because we want to be as fair as we can to everybody, right? It's just, Mayra, you had a comment. I saw the chat. Mayra, can you hear us? Can you unmute your mic, Mayra?
Okay, there we go. Can you all hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, sorry, because I was trying to speak earlier and I just heard everybody going on. Okay, so then I am suggesting some nominations. If you all saw on the chat, again, I am a person who thinks about time sensitive and time needs and speeding up process in an effective and efficient way. And so I don't like to sit in committees that like to loop around. So if we can just for clarifications, at the next meeting, we're going to go over procedures on nomination.
No.
You can set the ground rules now. I mean, that's I mean, we can discuss them.
That's what we want to do so we can have the election.
Right. Now we still can't set them and you vote on them in motion and that kind of stuff because remember, this is just a discussion item, but y'all can agree in general on what those discussions are, what those ground rules will be for next time.
Okay, so then what I'm hearing is everybody's agreeing that next meeting, an official nomination will go out. The person needs to accept or decline. Whoever accepts, if it's more than one, the top person will be the chair and the second with the most votes will be the co-chair. Am I hearing that correctly? Is that what everyone's agreeing?
The vice.
Just a suggestion.
I'd like for there to be a vote for the vice chair as well, rather than just first and second takes the vice chair. That's my suggestion. We can discuss it as well.
What do y'all think about that? Do y'all think it should be like it was mentioned before, whoever gets the most votes and the second most votes is chairman, vice chairman, or should be vote for the chairman, then vote for the vice chairman?
My recommendation would be to have two separate nominations and two separate votes, the way Rafa suggested.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The way Rafa is suggesting, have two separate nominations for chair, nominations for vice chair, and then vote for chair and vote for vice chair.
Okay, so maybe should we have nominations for chair, vote for chair, and then nominations for vice chair, and then vote for vice chair?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
good?
I agree with Julian and Joe.
So
I
as
agree.
far as either suggestions, we could say them now, or like Teclo said, you send them to me, and these are going to be the people that are going to be, that have been nominated, or want to.
No, I'm not suggesting they send them to you because we should do all of this in public,
Okay.
in front of everyone.
Okay,
Correct. We'll do the nominations next meeting. For right now, just to reiterate, the point of agreement was nomination. That way that we're going to handle the election will be nomination and acceptance of a committee member. And then we're going to vote for the nominations of a chairman and vote for the nominations of a vice chairman or woman. Sorry.
okay, so say there's three for a chairman. So how are we going to do it? Look, I've got committee member 1, committee member 2, committee member 3. So who chooses, who votes, raise your hand or say aye for committee member 1. And then how about for committee member 2 and then committee member 3? Is that the way you all want for the election to take place?
Can we do paper ballots?
I mean, that's what I was, I mean, because I think if you go by 1, 2, 3, I think, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, the number 1 might have more of an advantage than the third one. You know what I mean? But
That's why it's my recommendation on paper ballots, because
paper ballots, or what I had said is you text to Arnold or to Teclo.
No, I mean, Declan say no. I mean, here's what, I mean, I envision this being just like any other election, right? Like at the beginning, today, if we want, like for example, there's 3 suggestions, Rafa, Arturo, and Myra. Those are the suggestions I'm seeing on the chat. If they all accept officially at the next meeting, I suspect that we'll have a nomination of them. They will accept at the next meeting. There'll be a motion to accept these nominations. We will then have a vote as a committee of these 3 people. Normally we would do this, all sitting in the same room together. Because we're not doing that, I think that's why Julian is suggesting we do paper ballots. That's how we used to do it. I think whenever we were in person together. I think unfortunately we're just going to have to do it on video. On chat, that's written, but again, everybody's seeing that as well. So to me, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other when you do a vote. I don't think you do candidate 1, candidate 2, candidate 3, and see where the votes lie. That seems a little odd to me. It's just a regular vote, right? Like there's 3 people on a ballot typically, and you either raise your hand or you don't raise your hand, and then the person with the most votes wins. I think that's how it's supposed to work, but I could be wrong.
We can still do it electronically, like a paper format, whether it be via Google Docs. It could be set up really quickly. You vote, we send the link to everyone through the chat. You click on it, you vote, and then it shows you a live stream. And I can have that set up, send it to Teclo. He can see the live, he can share his screen, and automatically everybody can see who got chair and who got vice chair. Same concept.
I think we can do that. I don't have an issue with that, Myra.
It's private,
ask.
access. Again, Teclo, I can set it up for you. You get
I like that as opposed to doing number 1, number 2, number 3, where I guess if you vote for.
Yeah.
I like that idea. And then for vice chair, Alma, do you have any comments? You're all.
Oh, I saw that Arnold was asking about what to do in the event of a tiebreaker.
So I guess if there's a tiebreaker, let's see where.
Arnold, mind your business. We're trying to keep this simple.
We'll just flip the coin now. We'll, I guess if there's more than two and there's a tiebreaker, then there's got to be another election for two, right? A runoff, right? We're in the season anyway of runoffs, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, being that there is 3 districts that are in runoff, there's a potential that 3 of us might not be at the next meeting, or there might be 3 vacancies, or, so we might be short. But is there any way, in case that there are new committee members, that they might want to table it because they don't know anybody yet?
Well,
They don't know the committee yet. Is there a way that we could, how do I say, like, bar tabling it, like mandatory, a vote has to happen in January?
Well, I mean, if someone wants to table the meeting just procedurally, they can make a motion to table the meeting. If no one votes to move on that motion, then it dies and you have the election. So that'll be up to them to make a procedural thing. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's up to y'all as a committee to vote however y'all want to vote on that.
I suspect that whether we're here or not, we are all on certain term limits. And so I suspect, but I don't know, that all of us will be here at the January meeting. I don't think there's going to be a switch so quick.
I would suspect that everybody's can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I would suspect everybody would still be here. I would suspect everybody would still be here. A lot of times the nominations don't come in what I've seen, February, March. I mean, when do they, if there's a new council person, when do they actually get, is it the first of the year, or is it?
No, it just depends on the council. It just depends on the council person and how quickly they move and how ardent they are about this. I think that people need to show up as they continue to do so as committee members.
Right. If they're still on, if they haven't been told, hey, you're out, I guess we meeting as usual.
Yeah, Arnold, number one, Arnold's right. And number two, I think John had a second question, which is, I don't think the new council member's term starts January 1st. I could be wrong, but it's some other date. And our meeting, I think, is before that other date. Someone else can confirm that for me. Like, president doesn't start till January 20th, right? So,
well, it's whenever they have the swearing in ceremony. They have the election, then they'll canvass the votes, and then they'll set a date for the swearing in. And then once they're sworn in, they become city council. They start serving right away. Now, it depends on what their personal agenda is on what they want to address first. Maybe committees don't matter to them, so maybe they want to address it for several months.
Right.
well, and also Arnold has a point, right? It has to go to council for nomination and approval before they can add someone on a committee. Is that right?
Well, what happens is the city council member brings it to, puts that on the agenda themselves.
So we've got, I don't want to say we've got time, but we've got time.
Yeah.
So
Practically speaking, we're all going to be here in January.
regardless of the election outcomes for 3 of our districts, we should be expecting to attend January 7th, or you'll confirm that in writing via email?
I can confirm in writing, but yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay,
We'll
yeah.
have the elections and move on.
I'm sorry, what was that, John?
Yeah, I would have the election. It's never going to be, I think, a perfect world. I mean, right now we are, because we're, but it's going to take months before, if there's new council person that comes in, and for them to maybe substitute the committee member, it could take sometimes 4 or 6 months. I know Cesar, I think that position was vacant for some time, I believe. So I would think let's just have the elections in January, and
So
Who knows, Alma, you might meet your new council member and hit it off and they keep you on.
that's right.
I don't make a good first impression, so I already know. I'm just kidding.
So the question is, if you're
You froze, I think. Arturo,
We lost Arturo. I broke Arturo. Man, sorry.
I know.
Did we clarify the tiebreaker? I got so caught up in re-election, I didn't realize if we did or not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's just a runoff.
And then do any of the nominees, are they to address us? Do we want them to address us on what their plan is? I mean, are we even clear on the chairman position and what it all entails, approving agenda items? Is there anything officially in writing? I know, Rafa, you mentioned the committee procedures. Do you know if there's anything that officially states the responsibilities of a chairman? Or John, have you been using anything as a guideline?
No, just your Roger's rules of order. I mean, I know I get sometimes with Geklo or with some of the other liaisons that they, sort of guided us.
Alma, to answer your question, there's a general guide for committees and their operations that the city has, but there's nothing for this committee specifically. And if you want to look at it, you can find it online on our city site, or I can send you all the link. But the rules are all common sense stuff. There's nothing special outside of the ordinary that John said for the committee chairperson, other than to lead meetings and vote on items and things of that nature.
Now, Alma brought a good point as far as, do you want for the nominees to give a little 30-second, 1 minute speech?
Oh no, political commercials. Oh man.
Just no quote unquote fake news, okay? Just
If it's
what
just
do y'all think about that? Do y'all like the idea? Who likes that idea? Raise your hand.
I don't.
I guess there's only two that like the idea. Okay, so then no, it's not good to have that.
John, a question. This is Myra.
Yes.
How long have you been the chairman or chairperson?
How long have I been alive? Probably like 10 years.
You've been the chairperson for 10 years?
Yes.
Since 2019, official.
So yeah, I mean, I'm ready to somebody else to lead or to be the chairman.
When was the committee established?
Probably 2008, 2010. Probably at the time, that's when I came in.
Who was the chairperson before you, John?
There was
I
no.
don't think it was.
It's been me.
It was the creation of the committee. He's been there.
Okay.
But I mean, you mentioned if there's term limits. I mean, it's up to the committee members. If y'all want to do it every year, I mean, maybe we should have done this a long time ago, really. But I mean, it's up to you all.
I guess we met the 20 minutes of talking about this, Alma. Looks like we didn't meet the 20 minutes. I have a meeting I got to get to, but just want to say one last thing before we get started, because we've been talking about it a lot. It's my understanding that we're going to get suggestions, or we have some suggestions today. We're actually going to make the official nominations at the beginning of next meeting. Those nominees will then either accept or reject the nominations. Then we will, because we voted not to do or discussed not to do a little intro, we will then vote on chair, vote on vice chair using Myra's TikTok voting machine deal.
Technology, Joe.
I know, I'm kidding. I don't know any of that. And then after that, the person with the most votes wins. If there's a runoff, because it looks like we're going to have more than two people, then we'll have a second vote, and the person with most votes wins. If there's another tiebreaker, I think we should have like a trivia challenge. Can answer the most about Laredo. Just kidding.
Rock, scissors, man. Old stuff.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
And
Rock,
wait,
paper, scissors. That's the best way to do it.
And Joey, there's going to be a separate election for the vice chair.
Yes, same. Yes.
Well, with that summary, I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Okay, everybody, good.
Oh, Rafa, do you have something to say?
Carries. What's that?
Rafa's muted. You're
Rafa,
muted.
you're muted.
Thank you all, everyone.
Wait, Rafa's muted. Rafa wants to say something.
Oh,
Still muted, Rafa.
Oh. What about now?
oh, there you go. You're good.
There we go. Sorry, I'm speaking off my mic because it was hard. Just before we log off, I do want to express our gratitude as a whole committee to John. Next month, we'll be having our elections. So, John, we're just thankful for the work that you've done for the committee, the work that you've done for these 10 years. We honor you, we respect you, and all the time and effort that you put into this committee and to the city. Thank you, John.
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure working for you and 100 other committee members. So, thank you guys. And it's great working with you all. I think we have a very good diversity and very good members. Smart, we've been. It's been said we're the GT of the committees of the city committee. So.
Who said that, John? Who said that? I want to know.
That's a good one, man.
Merck has said that. Viviana has said that. There's several people that have said that. So.
Well, thank you guys for bringing the average up on my behalf.
There we go. No. All I know is that I'm outnumbered because I see Arturo, Cesar, Rafael, Joe, Julian, and Tecla with beards. Of course, I've got Alma, Mayra, and I don't. Okay, so we're good. Y'all take care. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.